welcome back to Burnout Brighter. This is episode 159, and we are lucky enough to have the developer of Peppered with us, Vasiliy, who I'm super excited. I have been courting him and trying to get him on the show for ages, and
Oh
he
my god.
finally said
You're making me
yes.
blush.
No, like when I first saw your game, I think Manly Badass Hero was playing it, and I was like, oh my god, I have to find out everything about this game. And so I immediately followed you, and I was like, hey, would you ever want to be on the podcast? And that was like ages ago. And he finally said yes, so I'm super excited. But before we jump into it, I want to introduce my amazing co-host Matt.
What's up? What's up? Here to talk about games. Peppered looks awesome. I played the demo. I'm excited.
And you guys can also play the demo. So if you have not played the demo yet, please jump over to Steam and check it out. The game is incredible. The narrative design behind it, like you guys know, I love that. It's quirky, it's funny, like you're going to have a great time, especially if you like quirky, strange little kind of games like I like. But before we get into too much and I keep going on and making Vasiliy blush, can you, Vasiliy, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in game development?
My journey to game development was quite an easy one. I just vegetated in hatred for my previous job and life until I had enough, which is not uncommon for game devs, as far as I know. Like, before working on Peppered, I was working as a director, cameraman, producer, screenwriter. I think I was like
Dang.
That's
a
a
reporter
lot.
once. Yeah, but most importantly, and like most of my job was working as a video editor for 15 years. I worked with various shitty TV channels, commercial companies, and just straight up weirdos who held a camera like at one point in their life, maybe. So the best way I can describe video editing as a job is basically it's like being a paramedic, but like instead of saving lives, you save broken dreams
Okay.
because well, basically filming is it's an exhilarating and fun process. Like the director, he can already feel the Oscar in his hands. Like he can feel it. He knows this. I don't know, magic pink dildo commercial is going to be huge. Like people will dedicate special holidays in his honor. Like they will celebrate his service to humanity. Like oh my god, it's going to be so big. And the actors are they also ecstatic. This is their big breakthrough after all.
hmm
So everybody is filled with hopes and dreams. And then they come to me to the editing desk and suddenly they see their work and they don't see what the project could have been. They see exactly what they did,
hmm
and what they did is a disaster most of the time, which you as a video editor are now tasked with saving and trying to compile it into something that people will not regret in their future. Like, and I'm not talking up the ridiculousness of shit that I have to work with. Here's a big example. Like once I was tasked with editing a 3 hour long prank video where a super rich dad decided to prank his daughter on her birthday by pretending a World War III happened
Oh
with
my
aliens
god.
and zombies. I am not making this up. Yes, Matt.
Oh my god,
I
why? 3
What?
hours?
How much money and how bored do you have to be to go through with something like this? Oh my god.
a
That's
lot.
crazy.
As much money as none of us will have in any time.
Yeah.
And like
100%.
this was an extremely rich guy. Like he owned a couple of companies that produced something.
Mhm.
Well, it doesn't matter what he did. The point is, he was super rich, and basically, he hired a bunch of people to dress up in zombie costumes and make a fake news report where people are running away for like all sorts of
Oh,
disasters.
that's
And
horrible. I
he
hate
forced
zombies.
he forced his daughter and her friends to hide in the karaoke bunker because like radiation or something. And in this bunker, they were watching this longest news report about how the world is ending.
Oh my god.
Who
By the
has a
end,
karaoke bunker?
A
That's
really
like
well,
rich
he,
real
guy.
rich
A
people stuff.
really,
You know what I
really
mean?
rich
Like
guy.
that's
Yeah.
dang.
Oh
yeah,
my god.
yeah, he rented like an entire resort basically to film this whole thing, and with actors and everything. And by the end of this news report, basically it turned out that the only one who can save the world is her dad, because turns out he's secretly a Spider-Man.
Oh
So he
my
went out with
god.
his tight spandex and his beer belly to beat the shit out of the actors in zombie costumes.
Oh my god.
And
She had
it
to know it was a
sounds
joke by that point. Please tell me
no,
she had.
no. Well, she was just a kid. She was like
How
10.
old was she?
She
Oh my
was
god.
10?
I thought she was
She
gonna be
was
like
10.
Yeah, I
18.
thought she was like a teenager. That's a horrible prank.
No, she wasn't. She was 10. She was turning 10, and oh my god.
Talk
It
about being
sounds
scarred for life. Do you remember
That
that
might
one
be
time
that
your therapist is talking to you and she's like, yeah, like one time my dad spent money on a 3-hour long newscast video where we thought the world was going to end and he was Spider-Man and he saved everybody.
yeah, I mean, well,
Traumatizing.
his motivation behind it, I mean, I guess you can sort of say that it was heartwarming because basically, since he was so rich, it
Can
was
you?
always. Well, hear me
Go
out.
on. Yeah.
Basically, uh, through his daughter entire life, he always put on these shows on her birthday, like to show, like, hey, here's Darth Vader who will give you like a birthday present or whatever. So he was
Oh,
constantly
okay.
putting on these massive shows, and she always believed in them. But as she was getting older, she suddenly realized that there were no Darth Vaders or Spider-Mans, that it was her dad that was just putting on a show for her. And she was really bummed out about it. And like she's asking
Aw.
dad, why do Spider-Man and Darth Vader doesn't exist? Like, why did this happen? So he got super sad about it, and he decided, okay, I'm gonna make the last one. The last show is gonna be spectacular. There's gonna be World War III, which is always fun. Like, what's the best
Oh yeah, no, World
present
War
from?
III is always fun. Whenever I think about it, I'm like, oh, party
Yeah,
time.
People throw World
yeah,
War III parties all the time.
yeah. So that
That is
was
kind of
that
sweet
was the
though.
gist of it.
That's wild.
And you
That's
had to
So
edit this 3-hour video together.
to make it look
yes,
as realistic as possible.
no, to make it into something that somebody would want to watch. I mean, we're not talking about like quality. We're talking
Right?
about
You're just
saving.
like,
Yeah.
well, kudos to you. I'm sure she had a great birthday, and that's like
Yeah.
something happy to walk away with, even though I'm sure you had to sit there for a really long time and constantly look at this video. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
So
At
so
least somebody is.
after all that, the joys of 3-hour long zombie apocalypse birthday videos, what led you to video game development?
Probably
Well,
that.
every probably that. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I hated my job for a long
That
time.
video. Done.
It was specifically that. Yeah. But no, I guess I was always interested in storytelling, like as a
Mhm.
medium, because I think fictional storytelling is basically it's rooted in our human need to communicate
Mm,
Mhm.
and tell stories about ourselves and what we feel and what we think. And that's a good explanation my dad gave me. Like everybody who does any business in movies, games, or whatever are just people who did not find any use for themselves in the real world. And I kind of believe that's what really is. So it's basically telling stories, communicating with people, and all medium they all have their strength points. Like in books they have monologues, like you can read the exact plots and emotional journey that your characters are going through. In movies you have action, and in video games you have basically you, because you are the main character. You
right.
decide what happens next. You influence the story.
The power of
And I
immersion.
think basically it's interactive storytelling, which
Mm.
none other medium have, and
Mhm.
that's why I was always interested in video games.
All right.
So
No, I think those
basically
are
it's
good.
my desire, yeah, to create some fictional stories that people can fall in love with fictional characters and whatnot, not like.
Well, you've done that with
And same
Pepper. Definitely.
oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
So yeah, that's how I got into video games. I just started working on perfecting my skills while I was away from editing 3 hour long prank videos.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, so my second question was like, I know you like storytelling. How did you come up with the story and the background for the main character in the game? Like, what inspired you to make Peppered? Because it's such a unique, quirky game.
Mhm.
Like, it's not like anything else I've really seen, and the humor in it is really, really well done because I feel like it kind of like, because I know there are some games that, like, within your culture, things are funny, but people outside of the culture might not understand. I feel like you picked a very good way of expressing these jokes, and you made it really relatable, I guess. It's more like working a dead end job and dealing with those people in the demo, and then, like, everybody wants to be the one to save the world, but this character is kind of like, I don't know if I really want to do that. Like, he just seems like he's the hero, but to me, it felt like he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But like, fuck it, he's just gonna take up and do what he needs to do to make kind of like that was my opinion on the demo. But if it's completely
Mm,
different, please correct me. But that's what
I
I took
mean,
away
it's
from
not
it, and I
far
loved
off.
it.
You're just in the video game. You're just basically nobody, just a random guy or a girl, whatever, who just had a chance and decided to go for it.
That's what I thought.
But yeah, I don't know what exactly inspired Pepper because I've been through so many drafts and redrafts of the main plot that I don't even remember how I got started on it. So I guess the only thing that I can presume that inspired is, I guess, me because because ultimately I am doing this thing mostly for myself, and I am working through some personal issues with it. So I guess my inspiration is basically everything that I saw and felt, and I think that's
Okay.
one of the reasons why it's relatable to some people, despite like the cultural differences, is because I try to make it really honest and try to talk about broad things that are universal.
So I
I
feel like
think
you're telling your story, basically. This is your
It-
story
not
through
that I
through
saved the world
Well,
anytime
yeah, I mean,
yet,
but, like,
not
if
yet.
you wanna embellish a little bit, like, go ahead and embellish if you wanna save the world, but this is basically your way of telling, like, your story, and I love that because one of the things that we focus on our podcast is about mental health, so the fact that you brought up is, like, that you're working through this game and it's helping you work through some personal things, like, that's incredible because I think it's maybe only the first or second time we've actually had a developer say something like that, like, this is something that I'm making because it's also in a way helping me mentally deal with the things that I have to deal with out in reality.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, another thing about writing Pepper and why I think it's turning out relatable is, like, let's take for example the scene where you have to write a presentation and then you show it to a bunch of investors like 5 minutes after you became the CEO of the company.
Yeah.
Like, at its core, one thing that helped me nail the scene is school. Like, everybody had to, I don't know, make some test project or whatever that
Yeah.
they were not
Hmm.
totally prepared for, and I'm just taking those feelings and transcribing them on the basic story about saving the world, which
Love it.
will get more and more derailed as the story progresses
Yeah.
and delve into complete absurdity of human
That's the
condition.
best part. Go ahead, Matt.
100% because yeah, no, because I feel like you can even see that in like the little moments, even in the demo. Like for example, the beginning of the game, you start off, you're like, okay, you're gonna go make some coffee. Do you get up out of your seat? No, you
No.
slide in that chair over and over again throughout that entire, at least portions of the demo of the beginning. Like similarly, later on, I made the wrong decision and got stuck there for 50 years, and then was going along in the chair with the ball and chain stuck to it. So I feel like even in those smaller moments, I feel like I can really feel like your personality and your humor kind of coming
Mm.
through, even not just directly through the script itself, but even in like the smaller, environmental moments. So I kind of wanted to ask is when you're considering writing, because like the game to me, like I played the demo twice. I got to ending two, and then I got to I guess the real quote unquote ending, or possibly one of the real endings. It gives me a lot of Undertale meets Sly Cooper in a way, like the relationship between the main
Ooh, Sly
protagonist
Cooper,
and
that's the first one.
yeah, well, like I found like the relationship between the main protagonist and the cop felt a lot like the relationship between Sly and the cop in Sly Cooper, just like I don't know, maybe aged 30 years and a little bit more nihilistic. So I find like Destiny mentioned, like humor is incredibly tough to translate, and especially it's tough to get right. And especially the demo, it got me laughing multiple times, and it's like 100% in kind of that absurd brand of humor that I love. what do you consider when you're kind of like, tuning in on those humor moments, like whether it is in the script, whether it is in the environment? What are some of the things that you'd like to kind of, how do you work on that? How do you make that humor translate?
Easy, just get angry. Like, if you
Okay.
want to write something funny, just first thing, get mad at something. Just take anything that pisses you off, and I will assure you, things that you didn't even consider humor will suddenly be humorous because you're just taking the piss out of it.
I love that. Okay, for anybody who's out there who's listening who is thinking about writing a humorous game, get pissed off at stuff. And there's
Yeah.
so many things to be pissed off about. So, like, I think that's great. And I think what's really good about that is that even though you're angry, you're working through it in a positive way, like, and bringing it back to mental health. I think that's really incredible because there's so many destructive ways that people can deal with anger, and you've used it, you've put it in this game, and like everybody I know who's played the game, who's tried the demo, has really really enjoyed it. So you're doing
Aw.
something right, like your formula is working.
Yeah,
I
I
have
mean, I
to
guess it's either that or substance abuse, so I would rather go with option number
Okay,
one.
that's right. Make a game, which is very
100.
close to substance abuse because a game can be very very stressful. So
And addictive.
yes.
Um, like I think something else that kind of really I don't know if this was like part of the intention, but like even in the way that like the world is ending and like you have a choice of being like even that first encounter with Cynthia, it's like, do you want to talk about what's happening or do you want to just completely ignore it? And she's just like, no, I'm not going to bring it up if you're not going to. And the game continues on.
Yes.
Even with like what seemingly feels like the world ending outside of our doors, like I feel like the social commentary at large is also very much like very present and very there. And like something that I really, really appreciated is just even like the variety of the gameplay, even within the demo. That like quote unquote boss fight with Cynthia on top of the building was absolutely hilarious. Like I was
I
laughing
love Cynthia. I love her so
the entire
much.
Oh, I
right.
love Cynthia too, yeah, and I also love to make my characters suffer, so. Oops.
It worked. It's just like that entire boss fight was hilarious, and even like the variety in terms of like the gameplay, going down and doing that the puzzle, the forgiveness note puzzle, that took me so long. So like when you're approaching even the gameplay in Peppered, it being a a game that a platformer that has multiple narrative dialogue, like multiple paths through like abundance of these almost like mini game style things. What are you hoping to bring to the gameplay to kind of keep it fresh, to keep it different, while also commenting on society at large? Because it feels like all of these things are somehow melting very properly in the middle.
I think I'm not sure which gameplay features I can announce without spoiling
Sure. Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
but I did like show on Twitter that we're gonna have like cart riding section,
Hmm.
by which I mean like riding on actual shopping carts.
That's
I
And I don't
love
know,
that.
I constantly mix the gameplay based on the story. Basically, it all comes down to the story you want to tell, and which will what will make sense for that. So it will be a mix of different mechanics that will come back together to the like this really simplistic platformer with a bit of stealth section, character interaction, mini games, etc., etc.
I really love the fact that like your mini games are incorporated in your story. So it's not like just a mini game to like do something simple or something easy. Like for example, like what was a game that I thought did it well? Streets of Rage 4, where you actually play the arcade game and they kind of do a callback to the old game, and I was just like, that's incredible. So I love that it fits within your story and it doesn't seem like quote unquote busy work, like, oh, another
Mhm.
puzzle. You know what I mean? That each thing is a little different and it fits with the story. One of the things I wanted to say before I let you answer, and I'm really sorry
Mhm.
because I can
Yeah,
hear you
yeah,
going
no.
like you want to say something.
Yeah, you're gonna have to cut those out.
No, it's fine. I want us to say that I really appreciate that you do that, and I feel like that's what's going to keep the game fresh. And the fact that there are so many different ways to go about learning what this story is based on the different outcomes. Like this is definitely it has a lot of replayable value is what I wanted to say, because I feel like the more you play it, the more you'll catch on to things that you missed, because there's so much going on, but in a good way. There's so much going on that when you go back, you're going to be like, oh man, that, because I literally watched a couple of people play it and I played it myself, and there were things that I completely missed that other people caught on to, and I was like, oh man, I didn't even know, like that was foreshadowing for that. And so I think you did a really good job.
I think that's all just comes down to the fact that I was a screenwriter before, and I have been learning screenwriting writing for years. So when I add something to the story in the game, I really force myself to be for it to be like in its place, to fit
Mm,
in the story and the gameplay. Because otherwise, why is it there?
right.
Right.
I mean, that's one of the basics of the storytelling. If there's no reason for it to be there, then cut it out. Just then leave it on the floor, because if it
Yes.
does not move the plot, then there's literally no reason for it to be there. If there's no consequences for your actions, and if there's no consequences for the events in the story, then they're practically meaningless and they do not serve you whatsoever.
Thank you. Thank you. I was just having this argument about Clone Wars with somebody because there was stuff happening, and I was like, what was the point of that? It didn't move the plot forward. They could have just completely cut that out. I'm always looking for that in games, and in, without even thinking about it, I'm looking for it in games and movies and series. And I feel like
I
your
mean,
game is very tight. Like there's no reason, like there's never been a place in the game where I've been like, this doesn't make sense. I'm always like, okay, what's going to happen now? Like, there's a reason for why this happened the way it went down. What's going to happen next?
I think a really good advice that I heard was from the creators of South Park, which, if you believe it or not, they are really good at screenwriting. Like, they're fantastic. They're really good. They know their stuff.
Hmm.
And the way that you do it, to keep the logical progression of your story, and feel like everything is in its place and one thing leads to another, is basically have you have events in your story, and between those events you have to have the word either therefore or the word but,
Mm,
which is means like stuff number one happened, therefore stuff number two happened,
Right.
makes
but
sense.
something happened, therefore it lead to stuff number three. So it keeps the logic of your story pretty straightforward without making the audience lose it and feel like the stuff that happened in your story are unnecessary or doesn't lead anywhere. If you could
Hmm.
just take out this bit without it affecting anything around it. So yeah, just keep in mind that you have to have either the word therefore or but between your events, and you're good to go.
And
Then
that's
your
a really
story is.
smart tip for those of you
Hmm.
who are writing. I know when I was taking a screenwriting class, they told us the same thing. Like, X happened and Y is the cause of it. And you really have to think about that. And then when you're going through your script, like rereading it, really take out the things that don't make sense or don't lead anywhere. Like, can this character still do this without this event happening? Does it drastically change how the people feel around this character or the events happening around this character? And if it doesn't, then just take it out. Because I know a lot of writers tend to get really wordy, and you're just like reading through a bunch of stuff. Like nobody cares how fast the wind was blowing through her hair, or what color the gum was that she was chewing, or
I
what
hate it so
velocity.
much.
Yeah, I hate that so much. So I'm glad that you stick to the point. And even in your world, which is absolutely like this world of absurdity, there is some logic in it, which I think is very
Hmm.
important because it's still grounded in the reality that you've created for Peppered. Um, one of the questions I
The
wanted to ask
reality,
you.
which is basically our world,
Yeah. I mean,
which
like
is why it
it
feels so
closely
grounded.
mirrors. Yeah. Yeah, it closely mirrors what's going on now, like just in a very well done satirical way. So I think like you've done a really good job, because everybody feels that way at
Okay.
work. And like you brought up the fact that like everybody's had to have a project to do at one point in time and not had enough time to do it, and then you have to present it. Like that was such a good analogy for that. And I think
I don't think
everybody can relate to that.
it isn't just about the work to me, though. I mean, despite the fact that obviously I was stuck on a dead end job because of my own poor life choices, it's still I don't think it's just about the job, really. It's about everything. Like, it's about the anxiety about taking any kind of decision in your own life that's out of your comfort zone and going
Hmm.
with it. It's a lot. It's about a lot of things, and obviously, as you said, like a lot of social commentary. Because I don't know, I'm a pretentious writer who likes to take a piece out of everything.
And I think a lot of people will get more of that as they play the game, like as when the game is released, and we'll get to see a lot more of that. Because I feel like in the demo, the main focus is like, I think so many people, I was stuck in the job area for such a long time. I know that like when people start playing the demo, that's the first thing that they're going to deal with, which is why I keep bringing it up to that, because the full game has not been released yet. So go check out the demo, which is absolutely amazing. And we're not really giving away
Hmm.
any spoilers because the game has so much, it's such an intricate game. The wordplay, the characters, and how they react to each other is so incredible. You really have to check it out. But another thing I wanted to bring up is the character design, because it is so unique and I love it. And I pick games based off of what they look like usually. So can you tell us a little more about how you conceptualize the characters for Peppered?
Well, at first we were creating like races in game. So basically, we were making this whole guidebook. Like, okay, we're gonna have 5 races. There's gonna be cats. There's gonna be like bad people. There's gonna be rabbits or whatever. And we were really writing down like everything about them. Like, what's the relationship like? Is there racism or not? What's the social status of each race, etc., etc. And before long, it started to feel like this really alive and breathing fantasy world, which is why I decided to ditch it because I don't want a fantasy world. I want a crude parody of our world. So once I did that and ditched every rule and everything that we built up to that point, I said like, okay, we're gonna go and do just whatever, do what feels right. Like for example, make a fish that constantly burning because that is exactly how we feel.
The the fish burning, and then later, 50 years later, the urn still burning. I started laughing so hard at that moment. That fish being constantly on fire was such a great bit. So
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it's just he's so stubborn to any change, so to the point that he refuses to stop being on fire for 50 years of his life,
And then
which
the
is
urn's still
exactly
burning.
yeah I get the same feeling like when I visit like old relatives who
Oh
did
god,
not
yeah.
change at
Yeah.
all in their 30s. Like, yeah, he's still burning and it's fine, it's just how it is.
So something that I was curious about is like, I feel like games that do have like a branching narrative and various narrative paths, you kind of hit a point where like some of them are great, some of them are not, some of them are funny, some of them are whatever. Well, while some, similarly with stories that just have a single through line, they can run into similar issues. So what was it from the beginning? Did you know you wanted various outcomes, various narrative paths? Are we going to see even obviously more of those in the full game? And like, what's your approach to even knowing that some gamers will never even see this like incredible thing that you've that's just in another path or another line? Like, how was that decision come for you in terms of a single storyline versus multiple paths and kind of guiding that?
I definitely want to have like secret story paths that people will completely miss out on,
Hmm.
and they will probably some of them will not know that they're there. And it all comes down to the fact that this game is quite an existential one, and I
Hmm.
think one of the things about existentialism is that things could have been different. You could have
Mm.
done things
Yeah.
differently. At any point of your life, you could have done something different, something else, and it could have been done in an entirely different way. And there is a high chance that you are missing out on something good. And this is exactly the anxiety and fear that I want to replicate in the game, because you know things could have been better. You know you
Hmm.
could have not screwed up. You know something could have been different. You could have fixed it, but you didn't. You fucked up.
Hmm.
And that's why I want to, yes, from the start, I wanted to have a lot of branching narratives, a lot of endings. Most of them will have to do with how you interact with major characters and
Hmm.
how they will change based on your actions.
Man, I'm already
So,
anxious.
yeah. So
I mean,
basically,
I love games like that, but I'm already anxious. Like, I think the fact that the game is so humorous, it might not make me as stressed. But like I remember when I was playing Minecraft Your Story, which was on Netflix, and spoiler alert if you haven't played that game, it's been out for years by now. The pig dies and I freaked out. I thought I had made some mistake, and I went back and played it again and chose differently, and the pig still died, and I was like freaking out, and I had to go to Reddit and like see what I did. Games where I have a choice and I mess things, I have to save before I do it or I freak out.
Yep.
I have to save.
I don't think I like endings when characters die.
I
think
don't
it's too easy.
either.
I think
cried.
I like endings where they live, and that's even worse. I think that's where I want to go.
Depending on the game, yeah, that could be worse, especially if it's like a zombie apocalypse game, because it's like, what are you
I
gonna do
mean,
now?
speaking of stress, whenever the game is going to be, I don't know. And I don't like comparing games to such and such
Mhm.
because I think it's kind of sounds like bragging. But if I may, I guess the direction that I would like to go to, atmospheric and story wise, is BoJack Horseman.
Nice.
So
Ah,
basically,
okay.
yeah. So it will lean more into drama. It will lean more into like personal problems, etc., etc. So I want it to be as depressing as it is funny.
I love that.
And I feel like that's such a it's such a hard act to balance, especially like, I mean, BoJack is one of the kings of really nailing that environment, that really nailing that feeling down. And even in like the brief moments of the demo, I started to feel that same kind of draw from Peppered, that kind of seeing like, I feel like people will really kind of see parts of themselves in the character, especially as you're making
Mm.
your own decisions and kind of relegating how that character, the main character is reacting to different, events in the world and to different people. But I think that you're already really nailing that tone and that kind, even in the writing and even in like the information, the information signs as you encounter to try and figure out just what to do in a on any given screen. I think that tone is very much, very, very clearly there in a really fantastic way. And it, for me, just even raises my hype for the game, knowing that that's kind of what the direction of the game.
Oh, thank you. Though, just for the record, I am not that delusional. I am no way suggesting that I am as talented as a full room of Oscar-winning writers who made BoJack Horseman. Like, there's no way I can write something as good. But I'm
Don't
just
say, okay, I have to
that's
You don't
stop
know
just
you.
that. Yeah,
You
come
don't
on.
know what's going to happen in the future. You do not know how well this game is going to be perceived. But honestly, I think you're doing an incredible job. I think one of the things that we have to stop doing is comparing ourselves to other people and thinking we're not good enough, because
hell no. I'm not gonna
that's
stop doing
but
that.
that's
I'm
not
gonna.
true. But that's not true, right? Like, somebody from that group of people could play your game at some point and be like, this is fucking incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you never know. And if you're using the comparison to like push yourself to be better, like, I get that. But if that comparison pushes you to a point where you like feel like you're never going to reach that point, I don't think that's healthy. I think that you will reach that point. I
No,
think that,
definitely not. But
okay,
I'm
good.
gonna continue to beat myself unconscious with comparing myself with the best of the
Well,
best
if that's what
and
helps you
thinking to
make
myself,
games like
Jesus
Peppered,
Christ.
yeah, if that's what helps you make games like Peppered, who am I to stop you? Because I love the
I
game so
believe
far.
it
So
does. I mean, it might not come as this big surprise by playing the pepper, but it turns out I'm quite a neurotic person. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed?
I mean, we learn something new about ourselves all the time.
Yeah,
So maybe playing this game will help people learn things about themselves that they hadn't really dealt with before, which I'm excited to see if like I come
I
away
hope
walking
so.
with that. Because it sounds like that's what you really are hoping to do, by having this game being so relatable, and you've presented it in such a great way. One of the
Yeah,
last
I hope
questions.
people
Oh, sorry,
will.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just saying that I do hope that people will take something out of it for themselves.
Me too. I think they will. I mean, like, I got super
Likewise.
excited just watching
Fingers
Manly
crossed.
Badass Hero play. So, yeah. And then I followed you, and then now you're on the show. So, like, it
No,
all
you've
worked
been
out.
following like forever now.
I have. I'm a stalker, but not
That's
really.
alright.
It's like the bare minimum stalking. Like, I found his Twitter, guys, and I retweet like
I
the
don't know. I
games.
dealt with stalkers. I'm fine.
everybody to know that I'm not really a stalker, even though we're laughing about this. But okay, so one of the questions that we always ask our guests, and it's kind of like one of the reasons that we got into doing our podcast, is to focus on mental health and gaming. And your game seems to be dealing with a lot of different things. I wanted to ask you if there was ever a game that you played that kind of got you through a tough time, because I can see this game being that for someone. So I wanted to
Yeah.
know if you've ever played a game that's just been like, this is the game that I used to go to when I was stressed out or when I was anxious or when I was feeling depressed.
No game has ever done anything like that for me, to be completely honest.
Okay.
Like,
What?
at best, I can say that video games provided like distractions. I wouldn't call
Okay.
that help exactly. My relatives help me get me through difficult times. My wife constantly helps me to work out my issues. My brother has helped me with that like more times than I can count. But no video games has ever
No
done that
video
for me, to be
games.
completely honest. Nope.
So has any social media, movie, TV series, because even though you say video games can be a
All right,
distraction,
movies or
hmm.
okay, let me think.
So I
Movies
just wanted to
or
say while
TV
he was
shows.
thinking that having a distraction from things can be good as long as it's in healthy time that you're spending with something. Like if it's something like you play the game every once in a while to distract you from your own thoughts, that's fine as long as you're not using it to avoid your real problems. So having a
Think
distraction
you
can be
exactly
healthy.
avoid them by playing
Yes.
video games.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but as long as you're not like, do you guys remember when like WoW was out and there was like that huge thing where people weren't feeding their kids, they were
Yep.
avoiding their responsibilities?
They weren't
That's what,
eating.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like, there's definitely a spectrum there, and I'm not talking about the spectrum where you like just,
Where it's debilitating.
yeah, where it's
Yeah.
debilitating. Yeah. But
I'm
yeah,
still
any
I'm
movies,
still
books,
thinking about the movie
stories?
or TV show that helped me.
Well, I mean,
'Cause
I
I know
wanted to,
there's some.
There has to be
while you
something
think,
that's inspired you. Yeah.
yeah. While you think, let me ask one more quick question before we kind of end out here, because I know your Kickstarter is imminent. It will be launching very, very shortly. Can you give us like a baby sneak peek about something that you're excited about the Kickstarter? You know, just to help get the word out there. It's launching soon. Tell us a little bit about the Kickstarter, and then we'll circle back around while you think here.
I'm excited about money.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to uh, knowing which rewards people are excited about.
Hmm.
Like, because we prepared quite a few, so I'm interested to see what people respond to, and I'm looking forward to seeing how many people really do support the game.
Hmm.
Because spreading the word, chatting, etc., that's helping a lot. But
You
actually
want people to
donating
put
something,
money where their talk is. I see what you're saying.
well, kind of. I mean, that's just not that I'm trying to say like that retweeting or I don't know, being an active part of community doesn't help. It actually means a lot. It
Hmm.
really does. But when people donate money, that's like another level of support. Like,
No,
because I
absolutely.
have donated to very few games in my time, so I think it mean when person is donating, I think that means that it really does mean something.
Right. No, and I
I
Well said.
totally
guess.
understand that. Yeah. Because I mean, the money that you donate is time that you spent working. And basically, you're donating some of the time that you've spent working towards this when you could have put that money towards a lot of other things. So, yeah, it is like the next level, right? Which is why you have tiers. Like some people donate
Yeah.
$1, and then you have some people who really into the game who donate $500 because they really believe in what you're doing. So
Hmm.
I think what you said was right on par. And I wanted to
And
say, could you tell us when the Kickstarter will be launching so people know to go check it out and follow it?
it's gonna launch on October 5th. So very soon.
An October launch. So, guys, we will definitely be putting all the information down in the bottom so you can just click on it. You can go follow, you can go support it, tweet about it if you want to, but
Wish
obviously
list.
wish list it, because when you wish list a game on Steam, that shows Steam just how popular it is. It helps with the algorithm, and a lot of indie game developers really, really need that extra help, especially on Steam, because that's one of the largest platforms that we sell indie games on. So if you don't have the funds, at least share it, talk about it with your friends, and go wish list it. And if you do have the funds, please, please, please consider donating to the Kickstarter to help get this game finished and out there so we can play it, because I am excited. I cannot wait.
Oh, guys. Oh, you
I'm
guys.
serious. You already
Seriously.
know. You already know how excited I am about this game.
Yeah, I know. You're not kidding. Which
I was like, you need a
still don't
publisher?
know.
You need this? What else do you need? Just tell me. What do you need? I'm here for
I
you.
don't know how to handle praise. I'll be honest. Like, I'm completely.
It's fine.
Ah.
But okay, so rounding back to the question that we asked before, and if you don't have one, that's okay. But was
Mhm.
there a book, a story, a TV series, or something when you were a kid that you just like really loved and like helped you get through? And it doesn't have to be like depression or a tough time, just something that like made you laugh and made you feel good.
Let me think. Okay, in terms of books, I guess Hemingway's Old Man and the Sea always inspired me, just because I like stubborn people. Anything by Erich Maria Remarque, which is a German writer who was German during the World War II,
Oh
who
wow.
was running away from Nazi Germany.
Mhm.
I guess helped me a lot, and it with recent times it helped me much more than when I was a teenager, since I'm from Russia running away from Putin's regime while trying to support Ukraine. Everything he writes about in his books seems depressingly accurate. Mm,
Hmm.
what else? Movie? I don't know. The Big Lebowski. The Big
Oh,
Lebowski.
I love Jeff Bridges. Like he
Yeah,
is
it's
bae.
one of my it's one of my most favorite movies of all time. Like, I have watched it. I don't even know how many times, to be completely honest. I can quote this entire movie just off my memory.
See, that's a good
There you go.
example. That's a
Yeah.
perfect example. Like you watch that movie, it makes you feel good. You've watched it tons of times to the point where you can quote it. And I'm gonna go ahead and stand behind you on that movie because I love it. And Jeff Bridges is awesome. Like he is one of my favorite actors out there. Oh, if he wasn't married, I would hit him up in his DMs. But anyways,
Well,
that's
if
not important.
I would too, I would too.
Right? Like who wouldn't?
I
It's Jeff
would.
Bridges. But Vasiliy, I want to thank you so much for taking some time to come on our show and talk with us because I know it's really late for you.
Oh,
The last thing I wanted to
it's
say,
alright. I mean, are we already at the end? It's the end already. Oh
yeah,
man, we've been going on
bruh,
30
people get on our
minutes.
show and they just want to stay here. That's how
Mhm.
cool we are. But I just wanted to ask you because you did bring up that like you're supporting the Ukraine and you did just you were a Russian citizen, I believe that's what you said. Is there anything
Yep.
that like we can tell our supporters or our listeners to do to help with any of that? Any organizations that you
Support
would like to
Ukraine.
bring up? I'm
Support Ukraine. Donate money. It really helps. I don't know, if you're in Europe taking refugees. If you're in Georgia like me, you can do voluntary work and donate like food, clothes, anything that helps basically, and spread the word, because it is an absolute disaster that will be never forgiven. And I think the best way to help is by basically helping money wise, information wise, or just, I don't know, just spreading love wise,
Thank you. That was
because it is a
perfectly
war.
said.
It is absolutely, I don't know,
It's
I have no words.
devastating.
There's
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Guys, please look for organizations, find ways to donate money, and also please follow his tips for any of the people who are still living in Europe. Um, it's absolutely tragic. War is never I feel like war should never be the option that we have to go to. But, I'm not the one ruling the countries. For all of those who are still dealing with this, who are still in the midst of it, just please know that our hearts and our love and our light are going out to you. And we are praying for your safety. And again, Vasiliy, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, don't forget to check out the Kickstarter. It is coming out October 5th. Go wish list the game and go
Mhm.
support this developer because he's incredible. Matt,
Play the demo.
Aw.
Play the demo, check it
play the
out. It's
demo, play the
fun.
demo.
Multiple endings. Do not just get no matter what you do on your first run, do at least one more just to see what else is out there. The game is fantastic. It instantly, like, Destiny's been talking about it for a long, long time. And, you know, actually being able to hop into, and, you know, I've always been impressed by what I've seen on Twitter. Actually hopping in and playing the demo just rose my hype immensely for the game. I can't wait to check it out. Please go check out the demo on Steam.
All right.
And you, Matt, you have to go and play House Party. Like,
Yeah, Matt. Okay, I will get it for him.
I didn't realize we were
Did
going to
you
come full circle like this.
I love the fact that you brought that up. Listen, when I told Matt about it the first time, his face was like super disgusted. But I was like, because I said there was sex in the game, but we're all adults here. So just go do it, Matt.
No, there isn't sex in the game. It's not sex. It's
so,
the same sex
so
like in
sex.
the room. It's not it. It's just complete.
But it's just so much sex in this game that I didn't even expect. So I'm really
not.
curious.
It's like it's sex directed by aliens.
Okay, yeah. But, okay, let me just, this is not a spoiler, but it is a spoiler for anybody who hasn't played House Party, so don't listen beyond this point. But there is a point where you have to get a condom for something. And one of the ways to get it is to get a specific person who is hilarious. I absolutely love him.
How's it going, dude?
Yeah, how's it going, dude? To give you head so you can get it. When I say that there's sexually charged moments in this game, there are. So just be prepared.
There's a Doja Cat expansion pack?
Yeah, she's gonna be in it. So maybe I should wait until like it's already there so you can like experience the game, all of it. The Game Grumps are in it too. But
this game looks interesting. I'll say
the
that
Game
much.
Grumps
You
are
see
there
his
because
face?
they don't. Yeah, the Game Grumps are there because I think they were the only one who played it, and they pretty much made this game popular.
Yeah,
like, they are
it
the
blew
reason.
up.
And at first, I think this game was like completely sincere. And once they realized that they made like the room level horrible,
Yeah.
They decided just to go with it.
Yeah.
And just go full wacky mode.
But yeah, I will definitely get him that game, and I will ping you once he gets it and he starts playing it. Look at his face. I love that he's so uncomfortable. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining us for our 159th episode with Vasiliy, the developer of Peppered. And we will catch you in the next episode. I said episode like 3 times. Episode. We'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Peace.